I'd like to thank my patrons for making this video possible, especially Janos Gerash, who is a kind person and a good artist, and I'll link his quality YouTube in the description. It's definitely worth checking out. I also want to thank Christian Nee. It was a conversation with him in the hallowed halls of the Metropolitan Museum of Art that spurred the idea for this discussion. I wanted to talk today a bit about the satisfaction we take from our work. I want to focus on a couple of the forms that satisfaction takes and the implications of each. We're all familiar to some extent with the warm fuzzies that come from a good day's work on a piece of art. And who among us has not grown addicted to the victorious rise from the table upon deciding a piece is successfully finished? Maybe it's accompanied by tossing a pencil across that table and gesturing victoriously to an invisible audience. Maybe. I think it's a good idea to examine those feelings as they arise, even if only for a moment between hypothetical debates with your defamers, and see what little details can be found in them, the various textures and flavors of our self-pleased plaudits. I'll break it into two possible courses, though there are many: a very personal satisfaction with your achievement, as authored by the hyper-potent you, whatever that means, and a more impersonal satisfaction with a job well done, which includes your role in it, but is not exclusive to it. Let's remember a foundational point here. Things go right and things go wrong with our art, and it's not up to us, not completely. Through sustained strenuous effort over very long timescales, you can come to control it a bit, maybe significantly, but you can never control it completely. That said, there's usually a part of us that takes it a little too far when something goes right with our art. Maybe you're familiar with that. You're doing a piece that starts to feel like, I think this is the best one I've ever done. Whoa, and it doesn't stay on the paper. You start feeling good, really good. And now suddenly it's a great day. You're nice to everyone. You're happy to tell anyone who crosses your path that you draw whenever you get the chance. You're more willing to take things well, more inclined to think positively about your prospects. You feel disciplined, like you have your destiny in your hand, like you're rightly receiving the rewards of your worthy efforts, and on some deep, secret, unspoken level, you think you're a good person for making this good piece of art. Some part of its success is tied to your self-worth, your self-image, your self-esteem, and even your outlook on the nature of the world. The world is a just and understandable place where people who work hard, like you, of course, produce good works. Does this sound familiar at all? It does to me. It's so familiar, in fact, that I can smell it. It's pungent. It pulls around my armpits like BO. This is dangerous. This part of you that is borne aloft on the warm winds of your very current success is the exact same part of you that is always walking the diving board, ready to plunge into chilly despair as soon as things go wrong. Of course, this must be the case, because in both situations, it's just the reactive part of you, the part of you that decides how you feel based on what is happening around you, doing the same thing. It is integrating the negative outcomes in the same way that it integrates the positive outcomes. Extremely. It's all the same trip, of course. This emotional scorekeeper gets constant practice at one thing: taking what is happening to you, or what it thinks is happening to you, and pitching you into an emotional state that reflects it appropriately. When it does this with positive outcomes, the joy and well-being can be so powerful that they feel like what we really are, who we really are. We tend to think that our best life is us, something we're trying to return to by recreating the conditions that produce it. But in order for you to slurp greedily in this glowing golden pool of ambrosia, to allow happenstance good things to reframe your entire emotional life, you must of course be willing to drink of the pool of bubbling tar at your other hand when the time comes. For one frame to be real and worth floating our identity on, the other must be equally real. Our minds will resist the hypocrisy of it all otherwise. Unless you're the lucky narcissistic sociopath who can self-aggrandize from seemingly anything and truly ignore justly served corrections from the outside world and keep them from dinging your emotional state. Actually, I've also met the occasional enlightened optimist who seems to be able to dip a la carte into life's events and pluck out whatever mood booster they need to achieve balance at any moment they desire. That's not most people, though. For most people, it's things go wrong, live like they're going wrong. Things go right, live like they're going right. See you at the finish line, try to have some kids along the way, great fun them. Isn't it wild that this is the kind of stuff we need to discuss to cover the depth of emotional pain and confusion people can suffer while making art? I digress. To some level, we must temper ourselves. Not absolutely, just to seek balance, a balanced tempering. If we're going to put down our habitual despair-driven reactions, we can't foolishly let that same pageant play out on the positive side just because we like the trappings better. When things go well, be careful of taking personal, and I mean very personal, satisfaction in the fruits of your labor. Instead, take the satisfaction of a job well done and end it there. Don't let it become tied up with your esteem. The job was done well. Someone else could have done it, but today it was you. This outlook reflects what is actually happening more honestly anyway. You showed up, you did what was needful, and the quality of the finished job reflects the fortunate circumstances that allowed you to execute the job well. The peaceful atmosphere in your home that weekend, that perfectly brewed cup of coffee that gave you the necessary focus, the steel bladder of your dog that let you work late into the night without interruption. You'll get plenty of unwise personal praise from your preening mind and the occasional fan anyway, so try to set your resolve carefully at the start, as best you can. I always feel the need to add this tag. This can sound like I think it's a good idea to do this because it's the right or noble thing to do. I don't think that. There is zero moral quality to any of this. I'm advising this because I think upon inspection, it's obviously the most logical and useful viewpoint. The alternative is in fact self-contradictory, silly, and doesn't hold up to scrutiny. Now, because I'm an artist, and so my greatest skill is debating and destroying my own convictions, let me say there surely must be appropriate times to take it all quite personally. A drawing might save your life in the depths of a black and frightening despair if it randomly goes very right. I just think moments like that are probably pretty rare, and they're risky because they easily could have gone the other way. Besides, there's plenty of impersonal and highly emotional aspects of drawing that are always available to investigate. For example, it's hard to get over how lucky you are that you get to do what you do. An infinitude of tiny things have to be just so in the universe for you to be able to appreciate, make, and share art. Some of those contributing elements are sublime mysteries of existence on their own. The relationship between consciousness and whatever everything else is, the ability to interpret symbols and occasionally arrive at the same conclusions as others, not to mention the miraculous specificity of sight, touch, emotional variety. It can all very quickly start to feel like a gift the cosmos has plopped right into your lap. It's sitting there, right there, in your sketchbook. If that doesn't sound megalomaniacal, I really don't know what does. All right. Thanks for drawing today.